Hello, everybody. I want to speak about the future and what we can hopefully anticipate from the future. Today, I was struck by the sensation that the political paradigm we're in and just the current moment will very surely be surpassed at some point. I think what's a bit obnoxious is awaiting the day at which it feels like the present is so thoroughly surpassed, because one may not be so young anymore by that point. I'm sure in 20 years I'll look back and think, man, all this stuff is like way in the past, and there will be plenty of people around who have no firsthand recollection of or memory of what it was like to live through the first quarter of the 21st century. So there's some reassurance in that. That's kind of like a good way to become grounded. For those of us who are not, we're in the thick of it, in the middle of everything. So, to somebody who's just engaging with the world as it exists today, who's busy with it, right? It might seem a little bit silly to start thinking about like, man, whoa, dude, like in the future, none of this is going to matter. But for those of us who are not involved in this stuff, that's on the mind. We're going to be perceptive of that, and it will seem quite real to us earlier than for others. And a lot has changed over even just the last 2 years, where it does seem like the kind of reigning Washington consensus has been shattered, all but totally shattered. And we don't need to be bogged down in that stuff, but I'm starting to get a sense of like, okay, this is like a transitional phase, because nothing that's happening right now is going to be stable at all. And I don't want to like get into the particulars on that. It just seems like a lot of political activity right now isn't going to have a lot of staying power. We're not going to go back to what we had before, just we're going to get to new stuff. And I look forward to that date, so long as the new stuff that comes is actually pretty good. Some of the points I want to make. I've found that when I meet older people, it's hard to tell like to what extent. I've tried to ask people, hey, do you think like, does it seem real to you that the television totally changed the nature of society, or that many older people's perspectives have been molded by decades of watching TV? And they go like, well, sure, TV, I guess that's a part of what shapes a person's mind, but people would read, and people would read paperbacks, and it would be hard to tell like who was drawing from the best of culture and who was drawing from trash. TV to me, there's plenty of people who are still in a world where TV is important, and clips that are often broadcasted on television are still broadcasted online. But to me, it's very much the case that TV is pretty irrelevant. Like the internet as a source of information that's like my generation. That's so just real. That's the story of the era, and I kind of look forward to the best aspects of that fact. Since there is a bifurcation as to how the internet is being used. In some cases, it elevates one's life and one's mind and one's powers. In another way, it fills a person's brain with utter garbage and makes them to be a kind of shockingly underdeveloped human being. But by nature, it seems like those who are using the internet well will have an advantage when it comes to putting things in motion that last in the world and having influence over the future. But I look forward to that world, because there's at least at this point greater cultural openness insofar as what kind of ideas can be disseminated and what kind of ideas can take root in culture. We aren't fully there yet, but and there's a lot of work even for young people like myself to do in ensuring that this is the case. Which means we have to kind of, as we develop and become wiser, and as more opportunities come our way, we have to ensure that we're making the most of whatever's in front of us, and trying our best to contribute towards a collective conversation that will result in a superior culture. And as I say all the time, read old stuff. That's a big part of it. But also the next task is like living, reading, and also living. And I in my brain, I feel like at this point there's still this. There are some barriers we have to burst through. Namely, the passive consumer days in this country is kind of like a huge roadblock. It's like if you want to do something interesting, it's like you're pushing a cow. You're pushing cattle with your hands. It's like there's a lot of people kind of just crowding up culture. Like they don't want interesting, fascinating stuff to happen. They want things to move slowly. They want things that are familiar. They don't want things that are totally new. What strikes one person as innovative might strike them as silly or obnoxious. So we have to get through this period. But I'm at least making this video where I'm speaking towards like, oh, it's going to come at some point. That sounded. I know what that sounded like, and I don't approve of anybody who finds that funny. It's not. But anyways, it's good. Better days are coming. More innovative times are ahead. I am assured of this because a bunch of people who dominate politics today, they're old as hell. They will die while we're still young. You understand? And the other point that I've been thinking about, something that's been on my mind. I've been following politics because I think it's a helpful way to learn about the world. For sure, it's obviously always important, but I've just personally reached this suspicion that I shouldn't follow it as closely because of what I've just said, because it's not going to matter, and I'd be better off focusing on something completely different that I can take with me into the future, so long as I can afford to do that. All right, that's about it. This is a short one. This is just, musing bullshit, thoughts for the day. Enjoy, have a good one. Leave a comment, talk about whatever interests you. These are small videos, right? I get people who pass by and, watch, and maybe they're stimulated and have something to say. So, kick your feet up, enjoy yourself in my abode, my YouTube digital abode. All right, peace out.